The Curse of the Snowbound Village. In the vast expanse of snow, where the world is drowned in a never-ending sheet of white, the team trudged forward through the biting winds. The air was so cold, it felt like the very breath of death. The snowstorm howled like a beast, its winds tearing at their clothes, leaving their faces numb with cold. The landscape stretched endlessly, swallowed by the howling storm. No roads, no signs of civilization, just a suffocating sea of snow. Arian, the leader of the team, felt a creeping sense of dread settle in his chest. His boots crunched in the snow, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Something was watching them. He had seen snowstorms before, but never one that seemed so alive, as if the storm itself had a dark, malicious presence. But his team, excited for the expedition, was oblivious to the danger around them. "Stay close, everyone," Arian warned, his voice strained against the howling wind, but his words were lost in the storm's furious scream. After hours of battling the storm, the team stumbled upon something they hadn't expected: a village hidden in the storm's grasp. The buildings were ancient, their wooden frames rotten and splintered. The air was eerily still, the silence oppressive. As the team ventured deeper into the ghostly village, an overwhelming chill wrapped around them, seeping into their very bones. Arian felt it the most, an unnatural coldness that made his breath freeze in midair, his skin prickling with a sense of something wrong. He turned to the others, his voice shaking. "We need to leave. Now, this place, there's something wrong with it." But the team, fascinated by the mystery, ignored his plea. They pressed on, unaware that they had walked into the embrace of something far more dangerous than a mere storm. As the group walked deeper into the village, the only sound was the crunch of their boots on the snow, each step amplifying the sense of isolation and dread. There were no animals, no birds, not even the howling wind, just silence. An oppressive, suffocating silence that seemed to gnaw at the edges of their sanity. They entered a building, its structure barely holding together. Inside they found remnants of an old campfire, a ring of burnt wood, surrounded by what appeared to be chewed-up bones. The sight was disturbing, and the smell of decay lingered in the air, thick and foul. "What the hell happened here?" Jane whispered, her voice barely audible in the heavy stillness. The others could only exchange uneasy glances, the fear beginning to seep in. A rustling sound came from somewhere within the darkness of the village, a soft scraping noise that seemed to come from all directions. "Did you hear that?" Jane's eyes widened in alarm, her heart racing. Her curiosity overcame her fear as she moved toward the source of the sound, determined to prove that it was just an animal. But as she stepped outside into the storm's rage, the sound stopped. There was nothing there. "Jane, come back!" Arian called, his voice trembling with concern. But Jane did not answer. When she returned, her face was ashen, her eyes wide with terror. I saw something," she whispered, her voice trembling, but there was no one there, just eyes, staring at me from the snow. It wasn't human. The others stared at her, fear creeping up their spines. As the wind howled, the door to their shelter slammed shut, the sound reverberating through the walls with a deafening thud. They jumped back, heartbeats racing. The coldness deepened, and the walls themselves seemed to groan under the weight of the silence. As night fell, the tension among the group grew unbearable. They huddled together in the old hotel building, the temperature inside plummeting. David, The serious-minded researcher had begun combing through the dusty old books strewn around the room. He found an old, tattered journal, the pages yellowed with age. As he read aloud, his voice faltered. The village had once been a thriving settlement until a violent, unrelenting snowstorm swept through the area. The villagers had sought refuge in the homes, believing the storm would pass, but they had been trapped, frozen in time. The book told of spirits, the restless souls of the villagers, forever bound to the village, hungry to drag others into their cold, eternal nightmare. "This place," Arian said, his voice thick with fear, "it's cursed. The villagers, they never left." Just as he spoke those words, the door slammed shut once more. The team froze, realizing they weren't alone. That night, as the team gathered in one of the buildings, a strange and unsettling phenomenon occurred. The door to the room creaked open on its own, and the cold air rushed in. The faint, shimmering glow of a torch lit the room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. And there, standing in the doorway, was a figure, a woman, her face pale and drawn, her eyes glowing with an unholy light. She was holding a torch that flickered with an unnatural blue flame. Her voice, when she spoke, was a soft whisper, but the words echoed with an otherworldly weight. "You should not be here," she intoned, her voice both sorrowful and terrifying. "Leave now, or you will never escape." The room seemed to grow colder still, and the shadows began to stretch and move as though the very walls were alive. The wind picked up, howling louder, and the woman's form flickered like a candle in a storm. The team knew they were trapped. There was no way out. The storm had trapped them in the village, its fury an impenetrable wall. Panic set in as the spirits began to reveal themselves, shadows flickering in and out of sight, their whispers calling to them. The temperature plunged to deadly lows, and the air was thick with the sense of something ancient, vengeful, waiting. Arian knew they had no choice. They had to perform the ritual, even though they didn't fully understand it. The book, now clutched in David's hands, detailed the necessary steps, but at a cost. The spirits would not let them perform the ritual without a fight. They would fight back with everything they had, desperate to drag the living into the frozen death that had claimed them. As Arian and his team began the ritual, the village seemed to come alive with a terrible energy. The very ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air crackled with tension. The spirits of the villagers swarmed around them, their faces twisted in eternal agony, their hands reaching out, clawing at the air as they attempted to pull the team into their icy embrace. Arian, sweat running down his face despite the cold, chanted the final words. The ritual was nearing completion. The spirits screamed, their voices rising in fury as they fought to stop the ritual. Just as the final incantation was spoken, the ground beneath them cracked open, a blinding light erupting from the center of the village. The spirits wailed, a sound so mournful, so filled with rage, that it seemed to tear at the very fabric of reality. With one final scream, the spirits vanished, their curse broken. The village was quiet once more, the winds dying down, the storm ceasing as if nothing had ever happened. But the team was not the same. They had broken the curse, but at a great cost. The village remained haunted, the scars of its tragic past lingering in the snow, waiting for the next souls to wander too close. Arian and his team, forever marked by the curse, walked away. changed, haunted by the memory of the village and the souls that would never rest.